Here's a few tips on handling a loss. Well, understand this. Being a 5 or 6 time youth state champion, and then winning 4 high school state titles, and then winning 4 high school national titles, and then going into college and winning 4 NCAA titles, never losing a match over that, 14-year period, and then sliding on into international wrestling and winning 4 world titles undefeated. I mean, none of this is possible. So you just kind of need to knock it off a little bit. So our goal for our wrestlers, and I had this conversation yesterday with one of our wrestlers who was like 44-1 going into this state tournament, kind of got upset in the semis and got third. What's this? He's only a freshman though. Was simply this. Expect a few losses along the way. So when the smoke settles, you want to be able to look back and say, I struck gold a few times. Kerry Colott says, everyone talks about how great I am because I was a 3-time U.S. Open champion, but they forget to mention that I tried 13 times. 10 times I failed, 3 times I succeeded. So as an athlete, we only tend to focus on when we fail. And let's be honest, you should not look at 3rd in the state as a failure. But we do though, right? The reason we do is we move the goalpost. We had a kid, he was like a little bit down to the dumps. He went 0-2 at state. I'm like, dude, what the hell are you talking about? Just 2 weeks ago, you were excited because you qualified. Like, I never dreamed I would qualify this soon. He's newer to wrestling. I think he's a freshman. I'm like, now here you are at state. You went 0-2, and you're depressed about it. And it's okay that you move the goalpost, because when you accomplish one goal, you're excited for one day. Then you say, now I want to place at state, or even win matches, or win 4 matches. You quickly set a new goal. I go, why don't you just focus on the fact that you accomplished your goal for the season? You exceeded your own expectations. You plowed through your own limits that you thought were, set before you, and you qualified for state. And he's like, yeah, that's the reason I encourage you all to have a goal sheet. A goal sheet is negative. It's a list of things you have not yet accomplished. But it's also exciting because, there's a target and there's something to chase. So it's very exciting and it gives you a lot of energy. But on the left side of your goal sheet, or maybe on the right side, you should have a list of things accomplished, a mission accomplished list. Now you can look back and say, these are basically your old goals that you have already accomplished. And there should be a very long list of those, right? It could be things like, I never missed the weight room all summer long. I was disciplined with my weight cutting this year. Last year it cost me. This year I did a good job. Not perfect, but a great job. I improved on bottom. I got away from 85% of my opponents. That might be a goal. So really get a little bit more scientific about some of your goal setting. Also, when you accomplish those, don't just scratch them off your goal list and move the goalpost and write down new goals. Slide those over to the right to show you're a log of the things you've already accomplished. And you want to read that log every day, because that's exciting to know that, hey, people say don't look behind you because you're only moving forward. That's the way I lived my whole life, and I was always miserable because I was always moving the goalpost and kind of miserable because I just always felt like there was so much more I wanted to do. But then you look back and you're like, man, I had a pretty damn good wrestling career, right? But if I had been focusing on my goals, but also smelling the roses a little bit and saying, dude, you're freaking doing it pretty damn good, right? You're doing better than 99.8% of America. Be happy about that while you're chasing these new goals. And this all will help you to have your best year ever. So that's how I would handle a loss and a disappointing season. And as far as having your best year ever going forward, here's what I would do. Write down your best handful or your top few weaknesses. So let's just say you wrote down your top 5 weaknesses. Circle the top 2 because those are the ones that are probably costing you the most issues. Spend 60 or 70% of your time attacking those main 2 weaknesses. Then your number 3, 4, and 5 weaknesses, you might spend 40% of your time on those because those are probably they're lower priority items, right? And now every day you're attacking your 5 weaknesses, or every week you're attacking your 5 weaknesses. But also, I would take a highlighter and put a big X next to the weaknesses that you can stomp out quick. I suck on bottom. Okay, you can fix that in a week. At least, let's just say 3 weeks. If you don't fix that within 3 weeks, then you just need to quit wrestling and say, I give up. Now, what if I'm physically not very strong? Some of you are born strong, some of you are not. Most of us are in the middle. Getting stronger is not that big of a deal. But if you're born, with a low amount of power, it might be a 9-month process. So you're not going to fix that weakness in 3 weeks, right? So if you take your highlighter and you mark off the things that you can get done quickly, that's super exciting. Because not getting off bottom probably cost you a state medal this year. I always say, bottom is the most important position in wrestling. But so is top position, and so is neutral position. Why? Because they're all important. One of those, if you're weak in one of those areas, you are in trouble. But it is important to know that some of your weaknesses you can't fix in 3 weeks, okay? And strength is one of those. So now what happens when you knock off some of those weaknesses? Your wrestling takes a big jump. Your confidence takes a big jump. And you start to say, man, I can do this. Right? So now that gets to be exciting also. Some of us, we always say that the motivation wears off 2 weeks after state. Some famous guy I saw online years ago, he said, motivation comes after the work. That is true. Once you write that down and live that, motivation comes after the work. Motivation comes before the work only for 2 weeks of the year or after a big loss. Then it wears off and you go back to being the same old kid you always were. But what happens is when you say, no, I made a commitment to myself, I'm going to go, it's 4 o'clock, I'm meeting my buddy, we're going to the wrestling room, it's time to train. So you pull yourself up off the couch and you go train. Now you feel good about yourself. You feel motivated, you feel excited. The motivation came when? After the work. So once you realize motivation comes after the work, wrestling gets a whole lot easier. But it's easier to get up off that couch when you're knocking down hurdles, right? You're knocking down obstacles. And some of these weaknesses that are easy to fix that you fixed, it gets to be very exciting when you do that. So there's, also one last thing. Once you fix a few weaknesses, you're getting better, you're wrestling better opponents. Now there's more weaknesses there. I didn't even know I had that weakness. Well, you never used to wrestle those good opponents. So there's always going to be a list of weaknesses that you're attacking. But that's exciting, right? So there's some good advice. Good luck to you guys. PurlerWrestling.com. Check us out.